Recently, I had a conversation with my father about making psychedelic content. We basically talked about how my brand would be more marketable and I could grow more if I focused on other content more. I thought about it a lot, but when it really came down to it, I realized I believed in the power of psychedelics just too much. I truly believe that in the right setting and for the right people, psychedelics and even other substances like MDMA and marijuana can truly change someone's life for the better. My wife and I then had another conversation of how, and if so, when. Because right now it doesn't seem like the world is very accepting of what I'm talking about. When I tell people that doing ecstasy and drugs made me a better person, or dropping acid changed my perception of the world for the better, they look at me like I'm fucking crazy. But it's true. Not only for me, but for thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of other people throughout the history of the world. But that's still such a small percentage of the people I know it could help. So I took some time off YouTube to really think about things, and as I was scrolling through Reddit one day, I saw a post titled, "Brazil is offering prisoners the powerful psychedelic ayahuasca to reduce recidivism." I was drawn in and instantly realized what I needed to do. I found that not only were they doing this in Brazil with ayahuasca in recent years, but I also remembered the Concord Prison Expirement. Studies done in the 1960s with psilocybin mushrooms. The studies were performed in America and Massachusetts and yielded awesome results. I couldn't find any information on such an experiment happening with prisoners other than these two. So let's talk about what they found and why it's not something that the prison system would even want. Brazil. An article originally written in 2015 has had a huge resurgence on the internet and has got a lot of people talking. Some of their violent offenders are being offered the opportunity for radical rehabilitation via the powerful psychedelic experience of the ayahuasca ceremony. An ayahuasca ceremony was originally something only indigenous tribes of South America performed. It was a very serious and powerful experience of spiritual growth and existential contemplation. In recent decades, the experience of ayahuasca and its ceremonies have been hugely popularized and taken to a mainstream level. I mean, just Google ayahuasca ceremony and you'll see videos from people all over the world taking the psychedelic in their living rooms, to even people like Chelsea Handler actually going to South America with the camera crew and recording the whole thing. Whether this is a good thing or a bad thing varies on who you ask. In my opinion, we're kind of like a mechanic trying to figure out a new tool with no directions. Brazil has taken the first step towards figuring it out though. Prisoners' rights activist group Acuda had trouble finding a place where the inmates could actually drink their ayahuasca. But they were finally accepted a small spot in Santo Daime, a Brazilian region founded in the 1930s. Supervisors at Acuda, who obtained a judge's permission to take about 15 prisoners once a month to the temple ceremony, say they are mindful of the risks of ayahuasca, commonly called daime in Brazil or referred to as tea. At the same time, Acuda's therapists consume the brew with the inmates as well as with the occasional prison guard who volunteers to accompany the group. "This is how it should be," said Virgilio Siqueira, 55, a retired police officer who works as a guard at the prison complex that includes Acuda. "It's gratifying to know that we can sit here in the forest, drink our daime, sing our hymns, and exist in peace. But in a country where conservative views are ever growing in response to continual violence and crime, not everyone is convinced this intervention is okay. Where are the massages and the therapy for us?" asked Paulo Freitas, a 48-year-old manager at a leather factory whose 18-year-old daughter, a college student, was kidnapped, raped, and murdered in Porto Velho in 2013 by a group of men. Whether or not we should be providing convicts with therapies that could be considered luxury is a justified question, no doubt. However, we cannot ignore the fact that many criminals eventually return to society after their sentence. That's the whole point of jail, rehabilitation. Do we want to see these people as a product of years of violence and aggression, most likely repeating their offenses, or would we rather have them come out of their sentence with new insights, a new perspective on their past choices, and a chance to do things differently? It is still early in the use of the experiment, so no solid results have been found yet, though there is one similar experiment that has. The Concord Prison Expirement. It was designed to evaluate whether the experiences produced by the psychoactive drug psilocybin, derived from psilocybin mushrooms, combined with psychotherapy, could inspire prisoners to leave their negative lifestyles behind once they are released. How well it worked was to be judged by comparing the recidivism rate of subjects who received the psilocybin with the average for the other Concord inmates. The experiment was conducted between 1961 and 1963 in Concord State Prison, a maximum security prison for young offenders in Concord, Massachusetts. It was run by a team of Harvard University researchers under the direction of the one and only Dr. Timothy Leary. The original study involved the administration of psilocybin to assist group psychotherapy for 32 prisoners in an effort to reduce recidivism rates. Records at Concord State Prison suggested that 64% of the 32 subjects would return to prison within 6 months of parole. However, after 6 months, only 25% of those on parole had returned. In addition, the personality test scores indicated a measurable positive change when pre-psilocybin and post-psilocybin results were compared. The results of the Concord Prison Experiment have been largely contested by a follow-up study, citing several problems including differences in the length of the time after release that the study group versus the control group were compared, and other methodology factors including the difference between subjects reincarcerated for parole violations versus imprisoned for new crimes. This study concluded that only a statistically slight improvement could be shown, as opposed to the radical improvement originally reported. In his interview within the study, Leary expressed that the major lesson of the Concord Prison Experiment was that the key to a long-term reduction in overall recidivism rates might be the combination of the pre-release administration of psilocybin-assisted group psychotherapy with a comprehensive post-release follow-up program modeled on Alcoholics Anonymous type groups to offer support to the released prisoners. In my opinion, that makes a lot of sense. The study concluded that whether a new program of psilocybin-assisted group psychotherapy and post-release programs would significantly reduce recidivism rates is an empirical question that deserves to be addressed within the context of a new experiment. Since then, no similar experiments or studies have been done, other than Brazil. Why? I mean, it makes sense to me. Do the prison systems really want their prisoners to not come back? How would they continue to build more prisons? This is the point where I want to invite you to do your own research and really look into it, because there's something going on here when there's actual evidence that shows there can be a huge positive change for prisoners. We can actually help to rehabilitate these people, and it's not being utilized or even researched. So yeah, definitely something to think about. I do hope in Brazil there are positive results, and in time we'll see. As of now, we're still that mechanic using that tool with no directions, trying to figure it all out. So yeah, give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you haven't already. Be sure to check out the merchandise if you guys are interested. It's the only way that we can continue to make videos like this. Audible484.com. Shout out to everybody who supports on Patreon. You guys are the shit. Can't say thank you enough. Please check all that out. Help support. Appreciate you. Smoke something, drink something, and I'll see you guys soon. Peace.